Welcome back. It is Thursday, February 15th. It is report day for pitchers and catchers to spring training. Some of them already started filtering in yesterday, but I think today is the official report day for the Giants. One of the biggest stories coming out of Arizona so far is that Reggie Crawford, the Giants' 2021 first round draft pick, is no longer going to be pursuing his status as a two-way player. It sounds like he is going to drop hitting for the most part. They have mentioned him possibly, doing batting practice occasionally just keep the skill sharp, but he is going to be mainly focusing on pitching, which anybody that kind of looked at his scouting report coming out, I remember at the time they brought him up as a two-way player, but even then, the scouts and everyone seemed to be much higher on his pitching and thought his future was on the mound. And it was a very big long shot for him to potentially be an actual two-way player at the major league level. Um, the bat is, he's got very nice raw power, but his hit tool is way behind. So it sounds like they're going to drop that. He's going to focus on his pitching, where he has the potential really to move fast. Now, it really depends on what the Giants are wanting to do with him. Um, you look at just his pure stuff, and he's got a 70 grade fastball, he's got a 60 grade slider, which both of those are really high end, borderline elite. And then he's working on a changeup, which now, unfortunately, the changeup has caused it sounds like working on that pitch, it has caused him a little bit his lat to strain, and he's going to miss 3 or 4 weeks. But that is going to be an important pitch for him to develop if he does want to be a starting pitcher. If that is the Giants' ultimate goal, you're going to need 3 pitches. He's not going to be able to make it work just fastball slider, in my opinion. That said, his fastball slider are so good that if they want to bring him up as a reliever, he could potentially move very fast. He's got solid control. He's got, a little bit of little wild, as most guys that have that kind of stuff are. Um, but overall, from everything I've read, he's got pretty decent control. And that fastball slider combination could be very valuable as a power lefty coming out of the pen, especially on the back end of the pen. But it does sound like they are wanting to develop him as a starter. So I'd imagine he'll probably start the year in Double A, and he'll probably, they're going to try and stretch him out. But don't be surprised. There was talk last season that they wanted to try and get him up for a look in, coming out of the pen, possibly at the end of last season. So the fact that they were already talking about it then leads me to believe that there is a very high chance that he can, possibly make his debut in 2024. But I do think it would be coming out of the pen. I don't see him as a guy that is probably going to develop into a starter in the next year or two. It does take time for these guys to stretch their arms out. So I don't see that happening. But the one thing I am hoping is I do hope they are going to take the kids' gloves off of him a little bit. I understood them kind of operating with extreme caution coming off of Tommy John, and he's not a guy that had thrown a ton of innings. But at some point, you kind of have to let these guys sink or swim and start stretching them out if that's the ultimate goal. So we'll see kind of what happens there. Now, the other side of this is kind of what does this possibly mean for a guy like Bryce Eldridge, who they just drafted this season? And he is also going to be getting an opportunity to develop as a two-way player. Um, one of the things Crawford said that it was a struggle trying to balance his work for both and getting, being able to do him both justice and properly develop both his hitting and his pitching. So, I there's a reason there's only one Shohei Ohtani. There's a reason his nickname is the unicorn. I don't know how likely it is that anybody is going to truly develop as a two-way guy. Um, Maybe, but it sounds like they're going to give Eldridge every opportunity to at least show if he can or not. Now, Eldridge is kind of the opposite of Crawford, mostly viewed as a bat first guy, and his bat is going to be kind of his the one that most scouts are high on him getting to the majors on. But I would say he's kind of looked at more positively on both sides than Crawford was. So if he, if anyone could do it, it might be Eldridge. But that said, my hope is I really hope the Giants let him advance as fast as his bat allows. I hope that they don't hold him back from moving him through the system because his pitching is lagging behind. It's just at some point, if his pitching starts lagging behind his bat, I think that's going to be kind of like with Crawford, who it's clear that his pitching can continue up the system, but his bat is falling behind. I'm hoping they treat it the same way, where at some point, if it becomes clear that he can't do one at the level that he's at over the other, they're not going to hold him back, and they're going to just be like, okay, it's time to drop it. So that's my kind of hope with Eldridge, but we will see what happens there. But other than that, we don't have a lot of news coming out uh, of Arizona yet. There was a couple little nuggets. They talked about Blake Sable maybe getting some time to work at first base. I think that's not a bad idea. They're pretty light on left-handed hitting first baseman. They really just have Lamont Wade Jr. Quite frankly, Sable is terrible behind the plate. I mean, we'll see how he does at first base, but if you like the bat enough, that is a spot where he could potentially, make himself a little more valuable. Should a guy like Lamont, who has had a lot of injury issues the last few years, last year dealt with a lot of knee discomfort. If a guy like him were to go down, if a guy like Sable can step in and be that strong side of the platoon, more power to him. That would be potentially a valuable piece there. So we'll see. Scott Boras still has all four of his guys out there, the big four names. We'll see if they sign anytime in the next month, but I'd imagine that hopefully some of these guys start dropping pretty quickly. But as always, I appreciate all the support. Like, subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this. If you have any videos on topics that you want me to discuss, drop it in the comments or send me a message over on Twitter. The handle is there on the screen. Other than that, though, we will hopefully have some more videos coming out soon. I am going to be on vacation next week, so might be hit or miss on it if anything gets put out, though. If anything big happens, I will most certainly be putting videos out. So other than that, we will talk to you soon.